Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Geraldine, and I'm gonna chair this workshop, and I'm very, very happy to, because I think that we are living not only in a very low-class struggle moment, an industrial struggle particularly, but in the wake of a very racist campaign. I think that these people here at this table are fighters joining the dots between standing up to racism and fighting back. We have a great panel of speakers. They will talk for 6 minutes, and then after them I will open to the floor for contributions. Please keep it to 3 minutes so that we can all talk, and then I will ask you to wrap up at the end. The workshop is entitled "After Brexit, Migrant Workers Here to Stay, Here to Fight." I remember people that we have been filmed, so if during the contribution you don't want to be filmed, just please let us know, otherwise come to the front. I'm going to start with Lukasz Benka, that is Bakers Union organizer.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today. Just a brief, just a few words about me. I'm a Polish worker, started working here about 10 years ago. Started in a glue factory, worked my way up in the bakery later on, and eventually I become a union organizer. I'm in charge of PolskeOK.com, which is like a Polish organization with about 14,000 likes on Facebook at the moment. So basically what we're trying to do, we're trying to create a link between Polish workers and the trade union movement, obviously especially our union, Bakers Food and Light Workers Union, just to basically overcome the language barrier, explain the benefits of being a trade union member, and get people to be more active, because we've got some great people in Polish communities, and they are just not active because they don't know how to do it and how to start. So basically what we try to concentrate on recently, it's obviously all the post-Brexit hate created by the campaign, and the whole campaign, which was like based on the immigrants issues, and basically that was a very bad and very rough campaign, and we all know that. So basically we're not going to concentrate on who we're going to blame for it, and because we know it's the politicians, okay? So the thing is that now we need to start thinking how we can engage Eastern Europeans and people from other countries a bit more in a trade union movement, because it's essential. The thing is that Eastern European community at the moment, it's still minority obviously, but it's a very big group of workers, and they are being exploited on a daily basis, because first of all there's a language barrier, second of all there's like lack of unity within the community as well. So it's kind of hard to basically engage those people, and that's where we try to step in and try to engage them a bit more. The thing is that obviously coming back to the hate crimes, we know what's happened. We had a Polish person killed in Harlow on the 31st of August this year, which was obviously that was a hate-related crime, and based on immigration, and obviously we try to do as much as we can to educate people to prevent those type of behavior to happen in the future. I'm trying to obviously encourage everybody as well to report all the crimes and all the incidents they can encounter. It may be a very minor thing for some people, but it may be a very big thing for the others, and it's quite important to explain that to the people and educate them that even the minor type of discrimination or race-related discrimination, it needs to be highlighted straight away and need to be dealt with. So what we try to do as an organization as well, we're trying to engage with, for example, a Polish embassy, and I had a meeting with Polish ambassadors some time ago, and we've got reassurance that obviously they are working closely with police and with the British government at the moment to obviously stop all the hate crimes. But on the other hand, from my experience, I know that sometimes it's like hitting a brick wall to get something resolved. I tried it myself. That police tried to send me to HM Revenue when I had an issue with one of our members. They tried to send me somewhere else. Eventually, I ended up with the Crime Stoppers, and obviously we know that there's no feedback from Crime Stoppers. So obviously the issue I tried to highlight was recorded, but I never get any feedback. Okay, so basically, as I said, we're trying to create a link in between between organizations at the moment, and it's not like we're just trying to organize Polish people. As a union, we try to open a few more groups at the moment. So we've got a Romanian group, we've got a Lithuanian group, Russian and Latvian, and obviously what we're trying to do, we're trying to engage them to be a bit more active and a bit more educated. So that language barrier or lack of knowledge about employment rights and about the workers' rights, it's not the issue anymore. So everybody is up to spec with all these problems. I'm not going to go through any figures because we all know that there is an increase in hate crimes since Brexit vote, and luckily at the moment it's falling down. So it's less than it was like a couple of months ago. But on the other hand, we know that there's still many of the incidents which are not reported. Okay, so yeah, basically that's it from now for today. Obviously, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask at the end of the session. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thanks, Lukasz. After Lukasz, we have Lucia Pradella, Free Movement of Labour campaign.
Okay, hi everybody and thanks for inviting me. I'm going to talk about our campaign to defend freedom of movement across Europe post-Brexit, a campaign that was launched by a group of academics within the University and College Union. And it's quite clear that immigration restrictions are at the very core of the Brexit agenda, and on top of threatening the current freedom of movement arrangements, the Tory government has also intensified attacks on immigrants, refugees and also international students. And in my view, they're really trying to raise the stakes and see how far they can get. And so far, at the institutional level, the political response has been quite weak. And even though I believe that there is an increasing awareness in society that racism is a big problem, and we need to mobilize against it. At the institutional level, what we have seen is that even Tory and Labour Party Remainers have turned into Brexiteers, even, let's say, more populist than the Pope itself. And even trade union leaders like Len McCluskey have embraced the idea of immigration restrictions from the European Union. And even if Corbyn has a relatively better position on immigration and instead of blaming immigrants for worsening labor conditions and welfare provisions, and blames instead the exploitative practices of the bosses, it's clear that Corbyn is under a huge pressure within the Labour Party. And this explains why the Labour Party response so far on the question of freedom of movement has been quite weak or has failed to mobilize at all around this issue. And what we see kind of in the trade union spectrum is that some trade unions, like for example UCU, Unison and even Unite, have launched some campaigns against racism or to protect the right to remain of EU workers, but they have failed to address the question of freedom of movement. And in the summer, the TUC has actually signed an agreement, a kind of statement with the European TUC, defending freedom of movement, but has failed to mobilize and organize a grassroots campaign around freedom of movement. And in our view, actually organizing from below to defend freedom of movement should actually be a priority for the labor movement. And we also believe that defending freedom of movement is crucial to fighting racism in British society. And why should this be a priority? It should be a priority because any restrictions to freedom of movement and our right to work without discrimination based on nationality will actually put increasing competitive pressures on workers from the European Union, and rather than improving the conditions of the rest of the working class in this country, it will actually trigger a competitive downward pressure on working conditions that will affect the rights of all workers, including British workers, and the overall outcome will be to weaken the trade union movement even further than before. And so we think that we need to make it very clear that immigration restrictions are not aimed at protecting the interests of native-born workers, and they will actually trigger this downward competitive pressure on the conditions of all. And also the other point we think is that if there will be a further worsening of migration regulations within the European Union, this will not lead to an improvement in the migration regulations for workers from outside the EU, but it could actually worsen the conditions also for non-EU workers. And so that's why we believe it's crucial to mobilize around this. And we also believe that there is also a huge potential for mobilization within British society. The most obvious fact is that there are 2 million workers from the European Union that are now seeing their conditions under threat. And we think that mobilization from below is actually crucial to put pressure on the union leadership and also to shift the debate around Brexit and give a different light on the question of migration. And so that's why we are seeking to build a wider trade union campaign that has started to take place both at the UCU level but also with some comrades in Unite and Unison. And our main demands are freedom of movement and opposition to points-based immigration schemes, upfront guarantee for existing EU citizens in the UK to stay, immediate removal of international students from net migration targets, and full recognition of workers' rights throughout EU withdrawal negotiations. And so we actually think that organizing a broader campaign for freedom of movement will help demystify the idea that worsening working conditions depend on immigration and not on the crisis, austerity, and migration restrictions themselves. And we think that this kind of, if we won around these issues within the European Union, this could actually have a positive effect also for the broader anti-racist movement and for the broader campaign against migration restrictions involving all immigrant workers. So we want to stress that this is not just an European issue. We think that this is a part of a broader fight for the rights of all workers. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucia. After Lucia, we have Pedro Celia, General Secretary of United Voices of the World Trade Union.
Thank you for the invitation. As Geraldine said, I'm from a trade union called United Voices of the World. I hate the title General Secretary, so I try not to use that. I think we have fought, the trade union movement is forced to actually use that title. It's imposed on us by statute, by government. Anyway, General Secretary, President and all the rest of it. I hate them, but there we go. Those are the titles we're left with. So United Voices of the World, for those who don't know, is a trade union which is trying to organise mainly migrant workers, low-paid migrant workers. That's why I've been invited here today. So I want to share a little bit about my experience on the ground as an organiser in migrant workplaces and with migrant workers. We're in workplaces where most of the workers are non-British born, and they've either arrived recently or have been here in some cases up to sort of 10 or 15 years, but most of our members haven't been in the UK for more than around 10 or 15 years. There's a couple that have been here for around 20 years, but most are sort of have arrived within the last 10 years. What we've tried to do really is just adopt a new sort of style of organising and a new style of campaigning. So we haven't really tried to pursue the traditional means of seeking recognition, of trying to get high membership density, of really trying to even negotiate. We're not really bothering with any of that. So we're really trying our best to just inspire, inspire the members we have, inspire the workers that we see to take action and to take sort of creative action in a sense, and to sort of campaign in a way which tries to bring in as many people as possible, which tries to attract as much support as possible. We're always obviously looking to have the strongest possible base in each workplace where we fight, that's essential. But what we found is that in a lot of the workplaces where we have members, or where we seek to organise, there's just no chance of reaching those high density numbers for all sorts of reasons. And I don't think it's a realistic strategy to be pursued. And I don't think recognition, which is something which is at the forefront of most trade unions' campaigns, is important or useful in a lot of the workplaces where there are mainly migrant workers. What we've done, therefore, has been try to depend a lot on our wider membership for the strength and support we have through the disputes that we end up finding ourselves in with employers. So we've been engaged in disputes with companies like Sotheby's, which is a large multinational auction house, with the Corporation of London at the Barbican Centre, the largest art centre in Europe. We've been in disputes with universities. We're currently in dispute with the London School of Economics, St George's University. There was a financial building in the City of London called 100 Wood Street. We've been in dispute, and John Lewis we're currently in dispute as well. We're in dispute in many places, and what we depend on in all of those disputes is the wider mobilisation of our membership. So a large part of what we do is trying to engage our membership in the disputes of the other members of the union, and we're doing that really, which is a very difficult task to do actually, because none of our members have been members of trade unions before, none of our members have a particularly political background, or really have any particular interest in trade unionism beyond obviously their own sort of material interest. But that's sort of shifted slowly as they get involved with the work they do, and then they are sort of now becoming a much more engaged and sort of politically conscious and socially sort of conscious community, which is what we've been trying to foster, and this is why we've been having successes in places where a lot of people didn't suspect we would have successes. So we've been winning. The living wage is always one of our demands. We'll always put that demand on the table. Wherever we've got members that want that demand to be put on the table, we'll put that demand on the table to their employer. And we've been threatening strike action often. We've been engaged in a lot of protests and engaging in a lot of other things to try and put pressure on companies. But I guess just for the point of discussion and debate, I think that the trade union movement needs to sort of try and accept some of the realities of organising in certain sectors, such as the cleaning sector, such as the hospitality sector, retail, all sorts of other sectors, where there is no union presence at the moment. So there is absolutely no union density or presence or influence in these sectors, which is why wages are so low and levels of abuse are so high. And I think that there needs to be a wake-up call in the trade union movement. UPW is a tiny union. We obviously can't take on more than we're doing at the moment. We do everything we do. We're about to enter into 3 strikes with large institutions with a budget. I'm not even going to tell you what a budget is. It's so low. I don't want the word to get out there about how financially screwed we are. We've got nothing. But we're nonetheless about to launch into 3 large strikes at large institutions. And we've just come off the back of the 61-day strike where our members went on strike for 61 days until they won their demands. And we've been sued by employers that have tried to get injunctions out against us and all sorts to stop us from protesting and striking. But we are pushing through all of these challenges without financial backing or resources or anything. And we're doing that really by just trying to inspire as many people as possible, our membership and wider support networks to get involved in these disputes. But I just think, on the last point, just for the sake of discussion and actually trying to put something into action, the wider trade union movement needs to drop its traditional organising model and methods, I think, and it needs to try and think of new and creative ways to engage workers and to new and creative ways to engage in disputes with employers and to put pressure on employers, because there's a lot of workers out there that do want to fight, but they don't know where to start, as Luca was saying. And I think it's the job of trade unions to make themselves as attractive as possible, to workers out there that want to kick off in their workplace, but may not have the backing and support of their colleagues. There are, let's face it, there are many divisions within workers themselves in different workplaces, right? You cannot ignore that. We've got our, we find all the time that our workplaces are divided along racial lines, along age lines, along cultural lines. Unfortunately, that is the reality, and obviously we need to seek to overcome that. But in order to overcome that, I think you need to start to mobilise and organise and fight with what you've got, and hopefully more things will follow from that.
Thanks a lot, Petros. The next speaker is Kumaran Bose, victimized Bakers Union rep at Samworth Brothers.
Thanks for giving me an opportunity. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to speak here. I would like to thank all the unions, teachers union, all the unions who helped me, especially my union, Bakers Union, fighting union, still with me, fighting against my dismissal and everything. I would like to thank Ian, our chair, Lucas, George, all our regional officers who are helping me in my fight. What happened was I was in a proposal in Jan. They say all our allowance is going to go, weekend shift allowance is going to go, Christmas Day we're not going to work, or Christmas Day we're not going to pay, and breaks we're not going to get paid, all the shift allowance is going to go. So I stood against it and said, I'm not taking it. I said, no, why should I work on a Christmas Day when you're enjoying yourself with wine and everything? Why should I come to work on a Christmas Day? I refused it. I said, I will not work on a Christmas Day. And I told them, they said, we need to work on 30-mile radius in any factory in the new contract. I said, why should I work on any factory in 30-mile radius when the directors have a fuel card and a car, they can go everywhere, but we're already cutting everything. You want to cut more and more on our pocket, it's not fair. So I refused to sign the contract. Only crime I've done is to organize the union. I was a union voice inside the factory, and 50% of the people, nearly 50% of the people want to join the union and join the union. That's the only thing, the crime I've done. So the company victimized me and dismissed me from work. They throw allegations one after another, which one will stick on me, and finally they dismiss me from work. But I still fight. The thing is, and there are a lot of migrant workers inside, there are different languages, Latvian, Polish, different languages there, Tamil, English, you got a lot of language people. Language barrier is a big problem there. People don't understand the contract, what they're signing it for, and the company is forcing to do so, and we lose a lot of allowances from our old contract, and we want the old contract, but the company doesn't want to give it to us. And the question I asked for the directors, they earn money, they want to cut, the people who are cutting the money, they don't want to cut their own wages, they want to cut others. As a leader, they need to come in the front and say, look, I earn that much money, I'm going to cut my wages that one. First you need to do yourself, not at the bottom, not at the team leaders, it's you, the directors need to come in the front and say, look, I got that much money, £90,000 a year, I'm cutting my wages. It should be each and everyone in the factory which has to be losing money, not only the workers in the shop floor and the team leaders, it should be each and every one. The company is making profit, they're saying they don't have money to pay the workers, but they have money to build a new factory, one in the corner, another on the other side. Where did you get the money from? If you have money to build a factory and you don't have money to pay the workers, that's not fair. So that's the only crime, and I will fight until the end. Whatever happens, I'll fight for the workers and I will not give up. Thanks for giving me an opportunity. Thank you.